record cancellations. Now, this is happening to even your most popular models at every manufacturer. So you'll have it happen to Toyotas. I was watching Car Edge. I love that channel. I really like Zach and Ray. I like that they often disagree because I always tend to agree with one of them. Usually more Ray than Zach, but I really like Zach's points. I think he asks really great questions, and I do agree with him. But we are in a period of record cancellations, but we're also in a period of people making less orders than they were a year ago because, well, now it's common knowledge that orders can take a really long time. And people, you know, people that dealers maybe wanted to fool because they're like, it's the only way. This person's called in the last 6 months 15 times asking, is a Maverick available? Is a Super Duty available? We're just tired. We're going to tell them, you know what? Order your Maverick. We'll do something, lie, and you'll have it in a few months. Heck, I've seen that a lot from Kia. Kia was on a streak of, we've had family members lied to by Kia when, you know, a brother-in-law told 2-3 days for his vehicle, turned into 2-3 weeks, turned into 2-3 months. They strung this guy along. They treated him like a sucker, and it was all to make sure that he didn't buy a Ford because he told them, brother-in-law works at Ford, you know, don't lie to me. And really what they understood is, oh crap, the brother-in-law works at Ford, let's lie more than usual. Because normally they're telling people it would take 2 to 3 weeks when it would turn into 2 to 3 months, but he was told 2 to 3 days. But people aren't being fooled. Not as many people are being fooled by these bad dealers. Now, good dealers tell the truth no matter what. And I'm the type that, hey, if I know something takes roughly 8 months to show up, I go, yeah, it takes roughly approximate average 8 months to show up. So then it drives me crazy when people go, so you can promise me I'll get it in 3 months, right? I'm like, no, I just said an average 8 months.
And nobody could
And then they're
know.
like, oh, so it's going to take 2 years. Well, I don't want to wait 2 years. I'm like, no, I just said an average of 8 months, which means, and I literally had this argument today. It wasn't an argument, it was a discussion, but I was like, and I told the person, I'm honest. When I tell you 8 months is the average, it means it could be 4, it could be 12, because those two numbers make an average of 8. I'm unbelievably honest to the point that I could make so much more money in life if I was dishonest at YouTube, at work. That's not how I do business. I like to give people the truth, even if they are trying to force me to lie to them. And I'm like, I'm listening to them. I'm like, I know you want me to tell you it's going to be 3 months. And when I say, well, no, the average is 8, and then you go, never mind, it's going to be 2 years. I'm like, okay, now, like, you go from one, you want to be lied to, and when you don't get what the lie you wanted to hear, you go to like some extreme that's way exaggerated.
Sellers could never know how much time it will take. They don't have a crystal ball. And for example, when I ordered my Maverick, you said, oh, maybe if things goes like it goes now, continue to go good, 3 months. And finally, I waited 21 months. Yeah. So I don't think Johnny will lie to me.
But I told you,
it's just
I said,
because we couldn't.
Yeah, I told you the first hybrid is already scheduled. You know, and it's already scheduled, and it's taken 3 months. And then an order 2 months after you showed up, like, oh, it was ordered a month and a bit after you. It ended up showing
before me.
It showed up in September. You had ordered in July, so it ordered August. Yeah, it showed up 2 months after your order, so that order took 2 months. And I'm like, hey, this order just took 2 months. So when I told you maybe 3 months if things continue to go well, and I did mention
you see on the market,
and I did say hopefully the Escapes are coming in now. So it looks like if things are worked out in the hybrid Escapes, then they shouldn't be a problem for the Maverick. But it is a new model. And new models can mean getting it all of a sudden delayed for, 6 months. I really did not expect it to be this wild.
But so that's why clients need to understand that sellers cannot tell the exact date, because if you were able to tell me the exact date, for sure you would have told me that.
Absolutely. I would have kept your Escape order, and we would have just waited for your plug-in Escape to come in.
For
Absolutely. 100 miles an hour.
That's the proof that sellers can never know.
Now, cancellations are at a record high, and that's because, and this is just natural, it's not because vehicles have gotten quite a bit more expensive, but at a lot of places, quite a bit more expensive just means they've followed inflation. So inflation sitting around roughly 7% per year. These vehicles are mostly going up by 7% per year. The Super Duty didn't really go up very much for 2 years. 2019 to 2020, barely any price adjustment. Same thing for 21. A little bit of price adjustment for 22, about $3,000 on a $100,000 vehicle. You're like, oh, geez, $3,000. It didn't even make sense. Inflation was at 7%. They have a 3% increase. And that's why these vehicles went up by $10,000. So it's kind of wild. I've got a window sticker price here. This vehicle here, it's $109,000. And originally, 2 years ago, this would have been $95,000. So it went up by, $97,000. It went up by a little bit more than $10,000, but over 2 years, and almost the entire price increase was going from the 22 model to the 23 model. Mind you, it's redesigned, but still pretty much following inflation. Where there are, record cancellations and what you could say major problems are companies, if you look at Ram's gone up. They've got almost 110-day inventory. And the reason for that is that inflation has gone up by 21% since 2019, and their price has gone up by 43%. They doubled. When increasing their prices, they doubled inflation. So that's just greed. That's just trying to get more out of the consumer. And is it, some people say, CarEdge was saying, that's just pure greed. But I'd also say that Dodge, it's not necessarily pure greed, because Dodge and Ram are being penalized by the government. They have to spend billions of dollars. They send billions of dollars to Tesla, allowing Tesla to lower their price, creating more havoc for the gasoline-powered companies. But they spend billions of dollars every year sending money to Tesla to buy carbon credits, because otherwise they'll spend even more billions of dollars giving money to the government in the form of really fines. So it's wild, because really it'd be great if the government could just say, hey, pick, either give the money to Tesla or give the money to us, or really maybe give a discount and just collect money and put it back into healthcare, put it back into the roads, put it back into the education system, put it back into properly funding police services. The more educated police officers are, the better service you get. There's countries in Europe where you go essentially for like a university degree to become, it is a university degree to become a police officer. Here in our country, it's 2 years of college to be a police officer, and then 15 or 30 weeks of training.
Don't remember.
So I originally was going to be a police officer, so that's why I know this. But it makes it so that there's a lot less issues between, with police officers making major errors that get people worked up, because they're really well trained. And if you pay people more, they're also going to do just a general better job. And that's across all professions. So essentially, it'd be really nice if we're going to, BS this whole carbon issue. If we're going to BS the carbon issue, can we at least use the money to give us a better society instead of just sending the money to Tesla, which then Tesla, their vehicles pollute, batteries pollute. They are creating pollution, but for the government, they're considered zero carbon and super, great for the environment vehicles, and they won't be if we don't recycle those batteries responsibly. And we almost certainly will not recycle the batteries responsible, because when has the human race throughout history been really responsible? Heck, only 150, 200 years ago, our major cities had no plumbing, and we were throwing our feces out into the streets, and it was proper for a man to walk on the outside, not to protect them from cars because there were horses back then, but the reason a man walked on the outside, horse carts don't splash. The reason a man walked on the outside towards the road was because women would walk on the inside close to the buildings, because when people would throw out their feces, if they didn't look first, it would fall on the man. That's where you get the being a gentleman, you walk on the outside towards the road. That's where that comes from. We're a society, Montreal. Montreal's built on a hill, and the rich lived on the top and the poor on the bottom, because the poor had to deal with everyone else's feces. That's the type of race we are. And now you're telling me that somehow we're going to recycle batteries properly? I call feces. I call BS on all of that. And it's BS that Tesla gets these credits so that they can then lower the price on their vehicles unnaturally, because Tesla without these carbon credits is not profitable. Their vehicles don't make a ton of money per unit naturally, but they do because it's fake. It's a fake system, and it's putting Dodge out of business, and it's creating it that Dodge, when they do sell a gasoline engine, they have to sell it for incredible profit. They have to increase the price greatly to sell these vehicles because it costs them money to sell these vehicles. It costs them a lot of money to sell these vehicles because they're penalized for selling them. So we, the consumers, are getting pushed out of gasoline-powered engines by our governments. And it's not really our governments. It's the World Economic Forum, which they don't even want us owning vehicles or homes. They want us renting everything. They want us to be happy about it. So they want to ensure that we become even more so slaves to credit slaves, that you have to go to work every single day. You can't even shop a different job because you're so up to your eyeballs in credit that you couldn't take the risk of being without work for 2, 3, 4 weeks, searching for a better job that pays better. They want us to shut up and just do whatever job we currently have for whatever the system decides they can get away paying us. And with the price of food going up, and with the price of everything going up, I think we need to be in a position where we can make employers compete for our services, our time. Our time's worth money, and they need to compete for our time because things cost a lot. And things are, food prices are going up when somehow miraculously we're being told that we need to all switch to lab-grown meat. I don't see that being good for the environment or for our health, because look into how lab-grown meat is made. That synthetic blood that they create for that meat taste is wild when you think about the fact that it's produced from precancerous or cancerous cells. So wild stuff out there. Double rant today. Hopefully you'll still be here for next week, because next week we will actually we're going to get to the topics. We're going to talk about, we've done record cancellations. So I want to point out, to wrap up this episode, record cancellations. Yes, more people are canceling because vehicles are taking months, if not years, to come in. Kia, Hyundai products, Toyota products, the RAV4, over 3 years to get one. Most electric or hybrid Kia or Hyundai models are around the 3-year mark to get as well. This is just what's going on for the hybrids. And it makes sense. Hybrids are more desired than full electrics, but Ford, in order to continue, even though on paper they're losing thousands, on average $32,000 for every electric vehicle they sell. That's their on-paper loss. But of course, they're writing off new factories. They're writing off, like the plant that builds the F-150. They closed it down for about 6 weeks this year to retool it so they can get production up to 150,000 units per year. But there's a huge cost to that. Modernizing and retooling these factories and expanding in size on these factories. So Ford's saying they've got a $32,000 loss on the Lightning, but people waited years for their Lightning. So guess what? Things change. People had put in too many car repairs into their vehicle and now want to keep their old vehicle. People were forced to buy a used vehicle in the meantime. People bought from another brand. So while record cancellations are at a record high, people are still buying a lot. July sales, let me repeat that. People are buying at record levels. July was a record month for sales. And right now we're en route for selling 15.9 million vehicles this year in the US. So originally they thought they'd sell a lot less. Production has gone up a lot, but sales are actually pretty darn good on average. They're about 10% higher than they were last year. This month, they're about 15.9%